Okay, we're going to have Joanna, and I want to apologize. I forgot to say she's the Executive Director of Youth Move. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Good morning, Good morning, everyone. My name is Johanna Bergan, and I am the Executive Director of Youth Move National. MOVE stands for Motivating Others Through Voices of Experience. And just really briefly, so you can understand the perspective that I speak from, we are a national youth-driven organization. We have a chapter membership program with chapters in 38 states, the District of Columbia, and 3 tribes across the country, and that includes over 80 chapters. We exist to infuse youth voice in systems transformation. So our initial rally cry was "nothing about us without us." So as we're in this room thinking about important policies that we may want to implement in the future, it is important and, in fact, vital that we include youth and young adult voice, as they will ultimately be the most affected by this policy change. I'm going to spend most of my select minutes on youth peer support, which is a growing interest in our work and interest in states across the country. But I also want to mention that you'll hear me throughout in small group discussions encouraging our training to include general youth engagement practices. We have a colleague on my staff team who says that it's a shame people don't find out that they don't want to, or they do want to work with young people as soon as they start whatever career path they're on. So just like teachers get out there in the classroom to decide if they want to teach, we need to make sure that our social workers and therapists really are dedicated to working with young people from the beginning, and I think that means boots on the ground. So as I talk about youth peer support, I'm just going to share on the screen here. This is what we use to define both the provider and the service at Youth Move National, and we draw our definition primarily from Sherry Mead's work. In general, we work with young adults who are ages 14 to 29, so we're very aware of the systems transition that occurs from the children's behavioral health to the adults' behavioral health world. And our role at Youth Move National is to understand and encourage the utilization of youth voice as we develop responsive services, and we hope that that includes the development of youth peer support. Our network has told us very clearly that youth peer support is what they want to have available to them. We do a national policy initiative called What Helps, What Harms. It's a compilation of the most needed things that young people in our chapters are asking for. As we compiled, we have 6 domains, and a cross-cutting theme across all 6 domains was that education, awareness, and messaging needs to come from their peers. A lot of what we do is to unite the voices and try to help share that united message as we're defining and building services. So why youth peer support? First and foremost is that it's what we're hearing from young adults, is that it's what they want. The second reason is that a lot of what we do isn't as effective as it could be. And some of the services and supports that are available to young adults are underutilized. And when we ask young people why they may choose not to take part in a service, oftentimes there's issues of stigma, there's concern, there's a lack of understanding of what is even being offered to them, and there is an important and vital role for a navigator in any of those situations that can most often be effectively played by a peer. We hear there are many names for youth peer providers. You may work with navigators or mentors. There's a really wonderful natural helpers program. Any type of this peer relationship can be valuable. We hear a lot in our work that we need to define developmentally appropriate services, and I think that's true, differentiating the needs of a child and a preteen and a transition-aged youth. But what we hear is more important is, are services appealing and attractive? Are they engaging to the young adults? And these are the standards that they're measuring the services and supports you're offering. We have begun to see a limited amount but promising research for the value of peer support, and specifically youth peer support. Definitely additional research is needed, but we can specifically point to the positive effects of peer support in support of first-generation college students and students with disabilities, and helping them stay in school. So what do youth peers do? They can do any number of things, and we are spending a lot of time working across the states to document the roles of peer. And one of the most important things I would say is to develop clear and mutually understood descriptions of their roles. But the things that you see on the screen: assistance in navigating, supporting participation in treatment and meeting, the modeling behavior in resiliency and self-advocacy, and provide individualized guided support are definitely key to their roles. When we talk about the potential for peer roles in the workforce, we think about it across the continuum of helping relationships. So on the left side of the screen, you're seeing our traditional services that we provide. They're one-directional. There is a power dynamic. I, the licensed clinician, know and am providing and telling you, the young person, what you need to do. The right side of this continuum is friendship. Right? It is mutual and hopefully voluntary for both individuals to be a part of. The amazing part is that peer roles can play across this continuum. And we've worked a lot with states that are developing a very formalized role for youth peers, where there is a training, a certification program component, and they are on the left side of that big gray box, right? There's also a role for peer-driven organizations. There's a growing number of independent youth-driven organizations to complement the family movement, and they're able to offer a special kind of culture and environment to youth and family who are looking for assistance. And then as we get to the right side of the square box, we can really delve into those informal peer roles, where we provide training to young people who are just in the school, who can notice things that are worrisome about their friends and be trained and willing to reach out. As we think about the youth peer workforce development and what we really need, we need an opportunity to develop developmentally appropriate training, which is appealing for transition-aged youth. As we think about building a youth peer workforce, we need to think about what their career pathway is. Lots of young people may take the first step in receiving a peer training, but they really want to become all of you. Right? And so how do we build peers as a pathway to additional helping service careers? There's an ongoing need for continuing education, both for youth peers who are already practicing, but also for everyone who engages with them, so we understand the value that they bring to our work, especially in team-based care approaches. And we need some honest reflection that each level of training, testing, certification builds a barrier, a very real barrier that a young person with very strong empathy skills will be prevented from offering support to their peers. And so I want us to be intentional when we put another certification requirement on the table, that there is either the flexibility to allow young people to approach and hop over that barrier in multiple ways, and that we really ask ourselves, is it necessary to put that barrier in place? One very quick comment I'll pass on as my final note is that we need to build a behavioral health work environment where we value lived experience. We value that in the individual setting that we're trying to help and in the peers. And then we really want to look for a place where an environment has been created that can be youth-driven and the young person's voice is valued. And we've developed, it's in a validation study right now, but an assessment that helps an organization understand and measure if they are, in fact, youth-driven. And I'll leave you with a couple of things to consider, and I look forward to the continued conversation that we have together over the coming day and a half.